I still love music, I think. But listening to it feels like a chore now, and I hate that. That was someone on a forum. 3 words into their post, and I already knew exactly what they meant. I'm on the couch doing nothing. Or, not nothing exactly. I'm choosing. Netflix, then Steam, then back to Netflix, and none of it is relaxing. It's like walking down a hallway where every door is painted on the wall. I reach for a handle and my hand hits flat surface. I opened a game I used to love last week. The menu screen played its little music, and I just sat there, staring at it the way you stare at a vending machine when you're not actually hungry. We call this laziness because it's the easiest label to slap on it. But this isn't laziness. Something else is going on, and there's research suggesting our brains might actually be doing it on purpose. Tonight, I'm not going to pretend I have a fix. I just want to sit with what this actually feels like, and maybe find one small crack to breathe through. I went looking for the most honest descriptions I could find. Forum posts, comment sections, the kind of things people write at 3 in the morning when they're too tired to perform being okay. By the way, why is the refrigerator so unbearably loud at that hour? During the day it's invisible, but at night it sounds like it's processing something personal. Anyway, these posts didn't read like symptoms. They read like people talking from behind glass. Everything is fine, technically. I can do my job, I can talk to people, but nothing registers, like the signal went dead. And the one that required putting the phone down for a second. It's not that I'm sad. Sadness would be something. This is just nothing. Nobody was being dramatic. That's what got me. No poetry, no performance, just flat. Like the volume got muted, but the world kept playing at full speed. People confuse this with burnout, and it makes sense why. Burnout is heavy, it's exhaustion, it's I need a weekend, even though weekends barely help. But there's still something there. Friday night still carries a faint flicker of relief. This is different. It's not being too tired to enjoy things. The reaching has stopped. The wanting doesn't arrive. We can watch a sunset and think that's beautiful, and our chest feels absolutely nothing, and that gap between knowing something should matter and feeling zero when it does. That's the frightening part. Not because it hurts, because it doesn't. And when we feel nothing, our minds don't leave it there. They start narrating. This is permanent. This is who you are now. The numbness alone would be bad enough. The running commentary makes it unbearable. So we try to fix it. New game, new show, new hobby kit, acting like joy is packed inside a box somewhere. But we open it and it's empty. Again. Here's the uncomfortable part. The box was always empty. There's no joy inside a video game or a plane ticket. The feeling has to come from us. The object is just a key. And right now, the lock isn't responding. I've read a few different explanations for why this happens, and they don't all agree. So I'm not going to pretend I have the definitive answer. But the version that made sense to me is this. There's a system in our brains that creates the wanting of things, not the pleasure itself, but the lean forward, the quiet expectation that something is going to feel good. And that system got overworked. Every notification, every scroll, every alarm, for months, for years, all pulling on the same mechanism until something just quit. Like a phone that's been running too many apps for too long. It doesn't explode. It just goes dark. Screen off. Unresponsive. Not because it's broken, but because it ran out of what it needed to keep going. And the frustrating part is that plugging it in for 5 minutes doesn't fix it. It needs to sit there, doing nothing, for longer than feels reasonable. So the grey, the flat mornings, the evenings where I can't even commit to choosing a show, that might not be brokenness. It might be the system doing the only thing it knows how to do when it's been pushed past what it can handle. Shutting down to avoid something worse. If anyone needed that said plainly, this isn't a character flaw. This is a system that's been carrying too much for too long. And there's a layer that makes it worse. Seneca apparently wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. I say apparently because I've seen that quote credited to about 4 different people at this point. But whoever said it, inside this state, it hits a specific nerve. Because the real pain often isn't the numbness. It's the story we build on top of it. What if this is permanent? What if I'm like this for 40 years? And suddenly, we're not dealing with tonight. We're dealing with a lifetime sentence we wrote for ourselves, which is honestly the worst possible frame to be making predictions from. When the frame is that big, of course nothing registers. We're trying to taste a strawberry in the middle of a fire alarm. The flavor isn't gone, it's just completely drowned. So, that crack I mentioned at the beginning. I know how advice sounds right now. Journal, exercise, practice gratitude. Honestly, if someone told me to go for a run during one of those flat weeks, I would have wanted to throw my phone across the room. It's like telling someone whose legs gave out to walk it off. Those things aren't wrong exactly, but right now they feel like more demands on a system that's already buckling. So tonight, we're not running. We're wiggling our toes. There's one thing that worked for me. Once, maybe twice, so I'm not overselling it. I put my hand on whatever was nearest, a blanket, a mug, the wall, and just noticed what it felt like for about 10 seconds. Not to feel better, not for a breakthrough, just to check if the wires were still connected somewhere in there. Is it warm, cool, rough? 10 seconds of noticing without trying to make it mean anything. The emotional door might be shut right now, but raw sensation, the physical kind, is often still reachable even when everything else has gone quiet. And sometimes that tiny signal, just the temperature of a mug against a palm, is enough to tell the system something is still getting through. It might not work tonight, but it's small enough to not feel like another demand. And when everything feels like a demand, that matters. And here's what we might not realize we're doing in those 10 seconds. We're shrinking the frame. Not 40 years, not my entire future. Just this room, just this surface, just this glass of water. Career stuff can wait until morning. Tonight is just a blanket and a glass of water. That's not giving up. That's making the world small enough for a worn-out system to actually handle. And if this has been going on for a while, or things feel like they're getting worse, please talk to someone real. I'm just a voice on the internet sitting in the dark with you. Someone trained and present can do what a voice through headphones can't. These states aren't permanent for most people. They loosen. Sometimes with help, sometimes with time. Sometimes for reasons that never make themselves clear. I remember a stretch last year where everything was grey for weeks, and then one morning something just shifted. I couldn't tell you why. It would make this whole thing a lot more satisfying to explain if there were a reason. But there wasn't. Maybe tonight we still can't choose anything. Maybe we scroll for another hour and fall asleep on the couch. That's fine. We don't have to perform recovery. One safe signal, 10 seconds of noticing. That's enough for tonight. Anhedonia makes time feel cruel. Each hour crawls, and the mind keeps whispering, "This is forever." But the mind lies when it's exhausted, and these things pass. Not neatly, not on schedule, but they pass. You're still here. That's not nothing. Stay for the night. Stay for the night.